welcome back. This is Defender Chassis. My name's Scott, and this is part 2 of the parts washer video. When I last left you, there were 3 things that we were going to do to get this thing back in condition to use, but I'm going to add one more thing. I had a concern about dirt being collected into the drum, and so what I want to do is I've got a tailpiece, just like for a regular kitchen sink, bought it at Lowe's for $10. The drain in here is the same as your kitchen sink. So what I've done is taken a couple old socks and put them inside each other and tie wrapped them to this tailpiece. We're going to install that onto the drain, and hopefully anything like paint chips or large chunks or something that happens to pass through the drain on the inside will get caught in here and let the fluid pass on through. So nothing to see to get this installed, so I'm going to install that off camera, and when I get back with you, we're going to work on the pump mount. Okay, on to the pump mount. Now the reason that we've got to do this, if you remember from the first video, is that because we're now on a dolly to make this thing mobile, the drum is effectively 6 inches shorter than it was before. So what we need to do is shorten this bracket 6 inches. But what I'd like to do is actually get this pump a little closer to the bottom of the drum. So what we're actually going to do is actually shorten it to 4 1/4 inches. So what all we'll simply do is cut the bracket off, go ahead and drill the hole for the pump mount, and then put the bend in it, and it should be good to go. So let me get set up here to do this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so all I've done is went ahead and marked this for this bend to be replicated. This is the bend line, and this is where it needs to be cut off. So we'll just cut this off with a porta band, and once that's done, we'll get this marked up to drill this hole. Okay, so what we did was went ahead and took the piece that was cut off and used it on the end to mark the hole location, and then I by eye made my center punch mark. And what we're going to do is drill that out with a hand drill, and I'm going to get a little grief for that because there's a drill press sitting over there, but I'm going to do something a little bit different just to show you something a little different. What we're going to put the hole in with is what's called a chassis punch, and this is about the right thickness. To use something like a step drill or something of that nature, this is a little too heavy for that, and it's a little too thin for a drill bit of that size. That's a 1-inch hole. So what I'm going to do is use this chassis punch, and what we'll do is we're gonna poke a 3/8 hole in that, and then we're going to put the chassis punch through it, tighten it up, and it'll pull a slug out and give us the hole size that we need. So let's get after it. So there we go. It's just that simple. Quick way to put a hole that size. So now the only thing left to do then is put a bend here. So let me get you set up over by the brake, and we'll get that bend in and call this thing done. All right, so this is my Diacro press brake. It's got a capacity of 24 inches. Now the tooling that I've got in here now is right around 17 inches. But it should bend this without a problem. So all we're going to do is go ahead and line that bend mark up with the upper die and give the handle a good pull. Tell you what, actually, let's do this to make sure it's square. Let's just go ahead and put this square on there, and then bend it as such. Now, this set of dies will only bend 90 degrees, so there's no fear of over bending. So we'll just go ahead and get this thing bottomed out. So that's it. Got a couple burrs here. I'll have to get the grinder out, but should pretty much replicate what we had before. So last thing to take care of is the rear cover. So let me get set up and we'll see if we can get that thing built. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on and get this rear cover made up so we can get this thing finished. What I've got here is a sheet of 75 thousandths aluminum. That's what we're going to make the rear cover out of. What I'd like to do, rather than just making a flat plate, is this edge towards the inside. I'd like to bend the lip down, provide some stiffness there. And I think we're going to do about a 3/4 inch lip should be enough. That's what this line represents. I went ahead and made a template to just give me an idea about what size that we need. So it tells me that you know, we're going to be in good shape with this sheet of aluminum here. So let's go do two things. Let's go ahead and rough this thing out, and then what we're going to do is we're actually going to cut some notches here on the side, because what I'm afraid of is that if we pretend this is the final sheet, that to slip this thing in there, because the way this is curved, that it's not going to go in. So we need to actually have this that bent down lip to be somewhat narrower than what the template is. So we'll rough this out, we'll cut some notches, and then we'll bend this up, and then we'll get back and talk about the next step. Okay, so I went ahead and marked out the notches in the corner. What I found that we were going to need was about 21 inches of width on that to be able to slide down in that drum. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and knock these corners out before with hand snips, and I will actually do a rough cut and then come back and trim the last little bit. Makes the edge a lot nicer. And then we'll go and bend this lip down or up, however you want to look at it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here's the idea, that lip will give support back here, and it'll just slip in and then set up, and then so now we're not flexible back here. So we've got to do a couple of things. One, I'll go ahead and mark it for that edge, but I'm also going to trim this around and bend a slight edge down just to give it a more finished appearance. We also need to put a hole in here for the hose to come through, and we'll oversize that hole, put a grommet. And in addition, we've got the pump mount. So what I want to do on the pump mount is I'd like this thing to slide back in, and then of course this will be curved. I like to notch this back in so that it fits around that pump mount. But what I'd like to do is actually bending their lip down so that it slides and provides a little bit of resistance and holds the lid down. So what we'll do is we'll start by doing a couple of relief holes, and then we'll notch those out, and then we'll come back in and we'll bend that tab down. Of course, we'll only make that so long, so we'll cut that off at some point, bend that tab down, and hopefully that'll slip right down in and then and hold itself in place. And then, like I say, we'll bend that extra edge down, and what we're going to do in addition is we're going to use one of these holes as well, one of these relief holes, as a place for a grommet for the electric cord for the pump. So one of these reliefs will actually go a little deeper, and will be a place for the grommet. So let's get after it, see what we make it look like. Okay, so you can see what I've done here. I've cut these two slots, and one is a little deeper. The grommet for the electric cord will sit in this one. And the idea is that this will slide in, and that this tab will be bent down so that provides clearance for the pump mount. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball this thing in here kind of snug. I'm going to eyeball right about where I want this bend to bend down. And then what we'll do, you can't use a regular brake because you'll end up bending all of this. You can't use a box and pan brake for the same reason. And I don't have the correct width die for my other brake to set this in to bend that down. So what we'll do is we'll just clamp this to the workbench, and we'll use a little block of wood and try to get this bent down, and then we'll cut off what we feel is excess, and then we'll get right on to bending out the outside lip, and then the last thing, we'll be putting that hole in. So let's get after it. Okay, so here's where we're at. I went ahead and marked the line again where the edge of the drum was, and then roughed in another line about a ½ inch out and trimmed to that. And now what we're going to do is use the bead roller with a hem set to roll a lip up on this, and that should finish it out. So here's where we're at. Metal was a little bit too heavy to actually use with that set of dies on the bead roller, but still gave me a little bit of a lip, makes it look a little more finished. I went ahead and off camera drilled the hole for the hose from the pump and inserted a grommet in it. So the idea is it'll just slip in there like that, keep that covered up and prevent as much evaporation as possible. Let me go ahead and get this thing put together, get the pump mounted in it, get the hose on it, and get all that taken care of. Maybe fill it up with some fluid, and we'll be back with the last thing, which is the Fusible Link. So let's get after it. Okay folks, the last thing we've got to do is the Fusible Link on the lid. And in the first episode I told you we were going to do something about making some kind of a bracket to use a different style of Fusible Link. But since then I have been able to source the correct part, and actually it's not called a Fusible Link. The correct description is a fusible loop. And I'll include, if you're here looking at this because you've got a similar parts washer and you can't find one of these, then I'll include a link down below so that you can buy one of these. I think they were around $8 a piece, but the shipping ended up being $10. So what I did was I went ahead and bought two, just so that if I ever break one, of course buying two means I'll never break another one, but if I ever break one, I've got a spare. So I went ahead and filled this thing with fluid, and I used the purple powder that I had mainly because I've already got it, and why not give it a try. I did dilute it 3-to-1, but unfortunately it looks like maybe there's going to be a part 3 to this whole deal, because although the pump does work, what happened was, well, that's quite interesting. Initially, we weren't getting any flow out of this. It was just a trickle. And I'm not sure what's going on, whether it was a plug in the hose or what happened, but looks like we've got good flow now. So maybe there won't be a part 3. So anyway, if you like this kind of project, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this stuff, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I sure would appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next project.